promote the rating in the app. We want people to rate every session. So just tell people, go into the Whova app, go to this session and rate it, please. We'd love your feedback. That'd be awesome.
Okay. Just one more question. It's for Brooke. So your last name is pronounced Schuyler?
No, Schuyler.
Schuyler? Okay. Just want to make sure I get it right.
Oh, and Brooke, you did say I added a slide after the SF building portion, right?
No. You added.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I just added one to show the contamination rate over time.
Very end?
No, it's the second or third slide, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not during one of your transitions.
Okay, sounds good. And I was thinking at the end, I'll just add on like what Julian said about how to snowball effect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm noticing that, oh, never mind. I think everyone else is on mute when I click on participants, manage participants. Do I have to unmute everyone or?
So our settings should automatically put them on mute. So when you let them in, just make sure that they're all muted. And if they're not, go ahead and mute them.
Okay.
Oops. Oh, wow. Can you hear the leaf blowers in the background?
Yeah. Yeah, good. They picked a time, though.
What?
Oh, I said they picked a great time.
Yeah, every other Friday morning. But they've been out there like for 2 hours now. So hopefully they're almost.
Oh.
Wow, there's a lot of people waiting.
I know, I was just thinking that. I still feel like it's better. The worst part, honestly, from last year was like waiting in the room for it to like fill up. Like that was the
Oh,
worst part.
yeah.
Like everyone, I was just like, oh.
I was partially scared nobody would come, and then also when so many people come, then I'm like, oh.
No, very, very. Well, at least we can have notes.
Yeah, and it's like I'm on my own couch. It's a little more comfortable
Yeah.
up in front of people.
Okay, so should I admit everyone now? Are you guys okay with that? Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
My phone's muted.
Okay. I think we're all good. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Waste Not, Want Better, Reducing Waste Contamination on Campus, One Building at a Time by Brooke, Schuyler, and Patrick Murphy. My name is Zaida Hernandez. I'm a Chico State student, volunteer, and moderator for this breakout session. This presentation and corresponding chat are being recorded. Attendee audio is muted. However, we encourage you guys to use the chat feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen to ask questions for our presenters. If you wish to save the chat to your personal device, feel free to click on the three dots to the top right of the text box to do so. With that being said, I would like to welcome our presenters. We're excited to hear your presentation today, and go ahead and get started.
Okay, well, hello everybody. Like she said, my name is Brooke Schuyler. I'm a senior at California State University East Bay. I'm studying environmental science, and I've been working in the Office of Sustainability for 2 years now.
My name is Patrick Murphy. I'm a fifth-year senior at CSU East Bay with a degree in environmental science and geology. I've worked in the sustainability office for about 2 years too. So first we wanted to open up and just talk to you guys about waste contamination. Thank you, Brooke. Alrighty, so recycling contamination is a huge issue at Cal State East Bay. We consider contamination as any time some waste ends up in a stream that it's not supposed to. So that's things like, do we have food in the recycling, paper products in compost, things like that. As you can see, our recycling contamination rate has been rising every single semester. It's reported by our recycling hauler, which we really appreciate. This isn't so unusual. The latest data from CalRecycle for California shows that the recycling rate is going up. So we're trying to tackle that issue here at Cal State East Bay.
So our plan was to first distribute the proper infrastructure. Sorry, I'm trying to move the little window. So our first plan was to distribute the bins to the staff and faculty offices. We're going to give you an overview of what the SF building is soon, but it's mostly staff and faculty. And then we want to give trainings to the staff and faculty so that they know how to properly use the infrastructure. And then we will talk with the custodial staff to make sure that they understand what we're doing and that they're working with us to keep the system going. And we just want to make sure that all custodial staff has the correct equipment to handle the triple stream system. Because at the time we started this, not everyone had the right system, so that could explain some of the contamination rates.
Alrighty, so like Brooke said, the SF building, which is the staff and faculty building on our campus, it's one of 2 LEED certified buildings on campus. It's not an academic building. It's primarily faculty offices. It has campus organizations, that's things like offices for transfer students and our international students. We have staff offices, so we have on the 4th and 5th floor, cubicles. And then on the bottom 1 through 3 floors, we have faculty, orgs, other staff and support, that's things like cubicles. And then all of the rooms have restrooms and break rooms on them. So this is a little bit different than some other buildings that we might have on campus, but it has a super diverse workforce. We have a lot of different people from different backgrounds, like literally in terms of staff and org, this building. So we have a good mix. Unfortunately, with the SF building, we have one of the highest contamination rates on campus. Sorry, we are still trying to figure out how to share the screen and control it all at the same time. Anyway, the staff and faculty building, it has one of the highest, it's the black line up at the top. As you can see, it follows the general trends on campus, but it's always significantly higher than the rest of the campus. So it's one of our, it's one of those things that we are always, and it's also where we host our offices. So it's always a little bit of a dig at it, but we're trying to get that rate down from its incredibly high rate to something a little bit more reasonable, hopefully below the campus average.
So just to show you a little bit of our infrastructure, this is our hallway waste system. This is a triple stream system, so we have landfill, recycling, and compost. This is in compliance with AB 1826. That focus was on just having the proper infrastructure set in place, so we are mandated to have the systems to separate out our trash. But upcoming, the Senate Bill 1383 focuses on actually using the infrastructure possibly. The goal is to reduce contamination, and like basically the overall goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and food insecurity. So we've had some difficulties getting facilities on our side with managing these systems, but with the upcoming Senate bill, they're starting to listen more because there might be fines imposed for contamination. So thanks to this bill, they're starting to work with us. And then this is our in-office waste. We don't have a compost bin in office. We encourage people to go out and use the hallway or break room compost bins. So in the office, we just have a small recycling bin and then an even smaller landfill caddy, which attaches to the bin. Great, so the steps that we took to start this system was first we wanted to contact all of the offices to let them know what is coming. So our boss, the Director of Sustainability, Jillian Buchholz, she first sent out an email to every office and person in the building to let them know that we were going to start this zero waste program and that we would be coming around so that they knew that what was happening. The second step we took was we sent out a survey to every office in person so that we could determine if they had the proper infrastructure and who needed what. And also we had a little spot there that they could give us any feedback. The third step we took was to do in-person evaluations of the infrastructure. So not everybody answered our survey. So we just took some time, about a week, we went to every single office and cubicle and marked down what they had and what they needed. Once we knew what everyone needed, we were able to order the necessary infrastructure from facilities. There was one floor that pretty much no one had the landfill caddy in the recycling, for the recycling bins, so we had to get a lot of little landfill caddies to distribute. So we had the infrastructure waiting in our office, but before we wanted to distribute it, we wanted to make sure everyone knew how to use it. So we scheduled trainings with all the staff in every office so that we could tell them how to properly utilize the infrastructure. And once we did that, then we finally distributed the infrastructure to everybody.
So like Brooke said, we use our department head to email everybody. But how do you get everybody's emails? That's one of the first issues that we ran into. First thing I did is I went around to all of the offices that I could, anyone who had their own individual set aside office, and I took, this is an example sheet. It's not anyone's real names or emails or departments, but I took down everyone's name, I took down their office number, and then I used our on-campus search fund, our on-campus directory to get the department that they worked for, the name of their department supervisor, as well as confirming their email. Some emails are a little bit, follow the first name, last name format. And then I made sure that I had their floor number and room number, and then we used an embedded form with our boss's email to send out a survey. And then we kept track of our respondents so that we weren't unnecessarily emailing people and hounding them when they'd already contacted us. And we also kept track of how many people needed a bin and who we had given those bins to. Unfortunately, that doesn't really work with anything because sometimes it gets complicated. Like we said, we have cubicles, and that's a little bit of a problem. So cubicles, there's no actual place for us to record where the bin goes. We can say like the third cubicle on the left, but they don't actually have numbers. What we ended up doing for some of the larger offices, which are floors 1 through 3, which primarily use the cubicles, is we just took down the larger office number. We took down the office manager's contact information, and we went around as a group and just with our phones and took as many notes as we could, counted all the bins, made sure that we had all the information we could, and then did the math for that side so that we made sure we had the correct number of bins for this project. And then we used all of this to email people directly with those forms. Click for me. Thank you. Alrighty, so with Google Forms was our friend. One of the big things that we really liked about it is one, it's really, really easy to do, and our campus uses G Suite to manage all of their stuff. So we were able to do embedded forms in email. That is one thing I would really recommend if you want to use Google Forms to collect data, is including the form in the email. You can see the little red arrow down. I have noticed that staff members people will fill out a form if it's in the email, but nobody wants to click a hyperlink to exit out of an email. Out of roughly 300 emails, hyperlinks, and absolutely everyone else who responded to me responded through the email that was embedded in the form. So I think that's a big plus. Also, with Google Forms, of course, you can include pictures in your responses a lot more. We have Qualtrics as well. I personally don't like to set up for Qualtrics, so I like that I can put pictures as answer selections. So it's a little bit easier for people to work with. And of course, we also, on every single form that we send out, we ask people if they have any questions, comments, or concerns, because we're always trying to get feedback. We're always trying to get every piece of information we can from the people that we're working with.
Okay. So this is the responses. So this is the responses that we got from staff. As you can see here, it says no response 60%, but so basically 29% of people did not have a bin. 11% said they did, and then after we went around and did our in-person inventory, we came to the conclusion that 88% of staff did have both bins. So it was just pretty much one floor that needed the landfill caddies. I guess the custodian on that floor had removed them, so most people did have the right infrastructure in place. All right, so working with the custodial staff, we wanted to make sure that they were on board with us and that they knew what was going on. So the first thing that we did was we wanted to make sure that each custodian has a split bin system. I was going to get a picture of this, but since with all this COVID-19 stuff, we haven't been on campus, I haven't been able to get the picture. But one of our custodians came up with the idea that we basically have those big Rubbermaid bins. And then inside of those bins, they have two half moon bins. So one bin would be for landfill, one bin would be for recycling. And then since we don't have that many compost bins on each floor, they just go back separately to collect the compost. So they have the right infrastructure. Then we also want to make sure that they were trained on what goes where and how to use that infrastructure. And lastly, each bag is correctly color coded. So for our landfill, it's a white bag, our recycling is blue, and our compost is green. We want to make sure that they're using the right bag in the bin and when they're separating out the trash. So this is the materials that we distributed to the custodians and janitorials to help them out. These graphics were created by our graphic designer, Alexa Armamento, and we basically modeled our system off of UCLA's janitorial system. So this is, to break it down, this is the zero waste guide. This signage is all hanging in the janitorial closets. So we just made sure they know what's compost, what's recycling, and what is landfill. And you can see down here, the landfill and the recycling landfill and compost can be a bit confusing since the bag and the dumpster colors are switched. So this may be one reason for high contamination rates. We just wanted to make it clear what goes where. And we also had to translate the Spanish a little better. The one that we got from UCLA had some incorrect Spanish. So thanks to some of our sustainability ambassadors, mothers, we were able to get the correct Spanish. Forward. So this is the split bin system that we are trying to utilize. Like I mentioned before, this is our Rubbermaid bin. We have the 2 half moon bins that go inside. A good goal would be for us to have this triple stream larger bin system, but we don't have that infrastructure in place. So we're trying to utilize the Rubbermaid split bin system. And then we just have some reminders about using the right bags and breaking down boxes. And then lastly, we have this little post-it note system. So while the custodians are going through, if they notice that there's any offices that have really high contamination rates, they can just check that off and then circle what it is that was highly contaminated. That way they don't have to speak directly to the office people. They can just let the Office of Sustainability handle that. It's a little less awkward for them.
Alrighty, so issues that we face. First problem, some people don't like you. As you can see, we got this lovely email from a faculty person who was very annoyed that they were being contacted and being told to recycle. So that's one of the problems. We of course just send them back, some sources. We explain, why that it's mandated by law that we have to sort our stuff into 3 streams. And then we also have issues with our custodial staff. There are difficulties getting trainings to custodial staff. For instance, the poster that you guys saw for our custodians, that took a whole lot of time to get up. We were working on getting that up while we were dealing with COVID-19, so we have not been able to get them up in all of the custodial offices that we would like. We literally had just gotten it started when this all started. Other problems with custodial staff, some custodial staff are a little uncooperative. Some of them don't see the point in having 3-stream waste. They have to do between 2 or 3 extra, at least 1 or 2 extra trips while they're collecting waste, and some of them don't feel like that's worth it. And then we also have problems with incorrect sorting by custodians. You can see here is our boss's pay stub, which was correctly sorted in the right bin and still somehow ended up in the wrong dumpster. We found out while we were doing a waste audit and just happened to see her name. And then we also have other issues with facilities. Mostly there's no one person in charge of waste at CSU East Bay. It falls in between facilities, the grounds department, sustainability office, and our food handler, our food organization on campus. They also, all 4 of us, deal with waste. So it's a little bit hard to make, for one person to make policy. And also we need to deal with the people who are actually collecting the bins, but we're only allowed to deal with most senior level people. Anytime we suggested going to custodial meetings, we were pretty much told like, maybe not. Anytime it came to, there's a lot of concern that custodial staff would feel that we were violating some of the rules set by the union. But those were concerns that were all given to us from senior level people, and we were the only time we were able to interact with lower level people is when we were changing out the signs, and they were all fantastic. Every time we went to go change our own signs and we bumped into someone from facilities, they were happy to learn what they needed to change.
All right. So for our future plans, we want to continue working the SF building. We just need to make sure that each custodian does have the correct bin system. We're going to continue working with them. We also want to make sure that every staff person in the SF building has gone through a zero waste training. And I apologize, my cat is going crazy. We want to make sure that everyone's gone through the zero waste training. We weren't able to finish all of them before we had to work remotely. So there's just a few more offices that we need to go through. And then we want to move this plan onward to other buildings. So some of the custodians in the SF building are also in charge of a few other buildings on campus. So we're going to start with those buildings since they already have the training and the infrastructure that they need. And then gradually we'll work our way through the rest of the campus as long as this program has been successful. And then we also want to check for improvement and get feedback, see what we can do better, what's working. And then another thing we're trying to do is rearrange some of the existing bins on campus. So we went through and did an inventory of the whole campus of where our triple stream bins are. And we noticed that there's certain areas that have a lot of bins in place. And then there's some areas that are high traffic that have pretty much no triple stream systems. So we're going to present to facilities the idea of it's a cost effective, it actually doesn't cost anything just to move some bins around. And we're hoping that that will help get some of our contamination rates down. And then we just want to continue conducting trainings with custodians if we can. like Patrick mentioned, we do have a hard time speaking directly to custodians. But since we started this program, facilities has kind of opened up to us more and started inviting us to their meetings. And I think that we're doing good with that relationship. So hopefully we'll be able to trainings with custodians so that they're properly prepared to handle all the waste. So the success of the program has been a little hard to measure since COVID-19 has brought everything to a halt. But we want to continue the program in fall semester 2020, and hopefully we'll see that our contamination rates have gone down. I think it'll take some time, but people seem to be on our side and everyone knows about it. It's well advertised in the building. And so hopefully as we move through campus, we'll be able to just reduce contamination rates throughout the whole campus. So that concludes our presentation. So if anyone has questions.
Questions, comments, concerns at all? Any questions for Brooke and I about the three-stream waste process? About could you continue? Oh, so for our waste audits, and we so the recycling contamination information that we get, that comes directly from our waste hauler. For our waste audits, we went out. We have to get permission from risk assessment at the university to do waste audits. And basically what happens is we get facilities to go out with us and they go into a dumpster and they pick out a couple bags for us. And then we sit down and we weigh each bag, then we sort out the contents into the correct categories, then we weigh that.
So how did our parents? Jillian Buckholtz, our supervisor, she spoke with facilities to get the clearance for this. Patrick, do you want to elaborate more?
Oh, you go ahead.
All right, so Jillian had this idea about piloting this zero waste program. Our office was moved to the staff and faculty building. We used to be in another building, and starting the fall semester, we were moved to staff and faculty. And it's, so since we were in that building, she thought that it would be the best place to start. And she just has a good relationship with some of the people in facilities. She regularly attends their meetings. And so she just spoke with them, told them about our idea. And I don't think there was any red tape or any problems. I think because we started small. And also, I'm pretty sure she just kind of said, this is what we're doing. I don't really think she asked permission. So that's kind of how she operated.
Yeah, no, our saying in the office is, what is it, ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah. And then with that Senate bill coming up, there will be fines for contamination, high contamination rates. So that is another way that you could probably get them to work with you, is to just show them, like, you, in a couple of years, you're going to have to be in compliance. And yeah, you can use that Senate bill and talk about the fines that might be imposed for contamination, which would probably help them be more willing to work with you on this.
We have a question. Hi, I was wondering if you've heard about the idea of removing individual office bins and only offering a single station for each office suite. We did this in our student union with great success. We put the sorting roll on the individual worker and noticed our contamination rate is going down. So we do have 3-stream bins in the offices. It's different than the rest of, it's a little bit different. We do have the 3-stream bins in the general area, and you are right. We've noticed that when we let students sort their own waste, we have one building on campus that is entirely 3 streams. There's not a single stream bin, and it has the lowest contamination rate of the entire campus. But no, we do. A lot of us are behind the idea of removing individual office bins. We get a lot of pushback from that from the staff themselves. However, we have talked about removing individual bins from our classrooms because we're 98% positive that is a large reason for our classroom recycling contamination.
Yeah, basically our classrooms only have recycling bins for some reason, and of course everyone just throws everything in there. We talked about removing them, and we would really like to. I think it would be for everyone, staff, custodial staff, and students, if we could just remove the bins. So that is a goal. In our SF building, we removed them all from the conference rooms. The custodian's concern was that people would leave trash in the rooms. But so far in our conference rooms, we haven't seen that. So yeah, hopefully next semester we'll be able to do that throughout the whole campus.
Do you upstream cardboard and paper? It would help reduce contamination for paper products. I'm not quite sure what you mean by upstream cardboard and paper.
Like use it for something else? I don't think we do anything like that. I think we just recycle it.
Or are you talking about like a reduction from upstream, pre-sorted from other waste streams? So we do have bins explicitly for paper on campus. Some of those, it's a little bit different. Some of the paper bins are normal recycling bins, but we also have a thing on campus where, because so many of our offices deal with sensitive data, we have a lot of like secure shredding bins. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those, where it's like a locked shredding machine. That's one of the areas that we go, and we're also not sure. We assume that's recycled, but we're not actually sure where that all goes. But for the normal standard kind of ones, we there's a normal recycling stream, just has the special top for paper only. And the graph about the contamination rate higher than normal, is that comparing the building you're working to the entire campus? No, yes, that is correct. So with that, the black line is the student and faculty building, the blue line is the campus average overall. And more questions for Brooke?
All right. Does anyone have any more questions for our presenters? Oh, seems like there's another one. Another question from Katie. What are the most common contaminants? I usually see straws, food, waste, etc.
We have a particular issue with Starbucks cups on our campus, but food waste is definitely one of the larger issues. But yeah, plastic cups, Starbucks cups. Do you have anything, Brooke, that you see all the time?
I think a lot of times people throw, like, they hope that something is recyclable and put it in recycling, but it might be like some plastic that has food waste on it. I think we have a problem with that, and definitely the Starbucks cup is a big one. And receipts, I think that was an issue too. Some people thought receipts were compostable.
That I do recall that.
And then just in general, the landfill, a lot of people put just everything in landfill, so.
She said she added, I see the Starbucks cups too. We started composting the paper ones, and we're trying to find an outlet for the P5 cups. So we actually just had to change all of our waste signage. We originally had it from our waste hauler that Starbucks cups were compostable in our facility. And our facility actually ended up, after a while, they actually ended up telling us that, like, no, in fact, we weren't able to compost those. So we actually had to go back and switch our all of our compost waste signage out to remove the Starbucks cup, the paper Starbucks cup.
Yeah, they told us that it was too energy intensive to separate like the polyethylene lining. So now like they all go to landfill. So people are definitely confused because we used to tell them to compost them and now they have to go in landfill. So yeah.
And again, that's an issue for us. That's an issue for other municipalities.
All right, any more questions for our presenters?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for coming.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. So if there is not any more questions, feel free to. We would like to thank everyone for joining today. Please feel free to continue the conversation on your WOBA app community board. Be sure to get into the WOBA app to the specific session to leave comments and rate the session. We'd really appreciate your feedback, and take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome. We will have recorded
Thank
this
you.
session, and